Hey, what the fuck is up, y'all? This is Crazy McCormick here on Juggalo a Day up in this motherfucking bitch. Now, before we get into the topic of the week, there are two things that I need to point out. The first one is an apology going out to Davomania and everybody at Carnival Spirits. As much as I wanted to join the Hallowicked live stream that y'all fucking did, unfortunately I was not able to attend. Davomania wanted to have me come up on there after seeing my topic of the week about paranormal sightings, and he wanted me to repeat the story about what had happened back in the day that I talked about on the topic of the week for paranormal sightings. Unfortunately, I was not able to do that because of unforeseen circumstances. And by unforeseen circumstances, that means that I had to drive down to Lansing, Michigan to drop off somebody that I was working for. And on top of that, usually throughout the week, I usually tend to get to bed around midnight because I got to take my kids to school the next morning. And with that being said, I never got a nap, so I wasn't able to attend. So for that, I apologize. But nevertheless, I'm sure that, no harm, no foul. The second thing that I wanted to talk about was the fact that we at Juggalo a Day, actually, I don't know if you guys have noticed this or not, but we have specific playlists in our playlist section that go out to show all of the videos that we here on Juggalo a Day have done. And every playlist that's on there is categorized by the hosts of Juggalo a Day, both present and past. So there is one for myself, Mac and Hose, Big Nick, Nightmare, Miss Juggalette, and even one for Jers. But there's another one that we actually have out there that is for you, the people who watch us, our audience, our Juggalo family. And what that is it's a little one called REs for Outsiders. And what that is a compilation of all of the videos that I have found scouring YouTube responding to our topics of the week. I find it actually pretty fucking fresh that there are juggalos out there who are interacting with us, and that's exactly what we want, is we want to have interaction with the juggalos to talk about our fucking topics. So, with that in mind, I scour throughout the shit and I try to find the ones that people have been responding to, and I put them in this playlist. So, if you have a video that is responding to our topics, I'm putting them on there, and the rest of the Juggalo community can actually see that and possibly even get yourself a little bit of extra exposure. On top of that, if you do have a video that you make in response to the topics, you fellow outsiders, just make sure that you put down that it's a response to Juggalo a Day in the title, and put Juggalo a Day in the tags. I search every day trying to find response videos to our topics. So that should actually help get that exposure, so that way we can have these topics added on, have these videos added onto that playlist. Now, on to the fucking topic of the week. Now, granted the fact that today is Halloween, and this is the only fucking day of October that we are going to be having a topic on, fuck it. Let's just make it so the rest of the week is all about still going with Season of the Pumpkin. And this week's topic is actually one that I've been wanting to do since the beginning of the month, but everybody ended up asking me to hold back on it. And this week's topic is actually going to be best Halloween costumes. Costumes that we've had in the past, maybe one that you're wearing fucking today, I don't know. But I will talk about a lot of the Halloween costumes that I've worn in the past, and possibly my favorite Halloween costumes that I have worn. As a kid, my grandmother actually used to make a lot of Halloween costumes. She was very good with a singer and very good with a fucking sewing needle. So, I got to be a bee one time, like back when I was a baby. I actually have a picture of me dressed up as a bee for Halloween. There's also been times where, let's see, I've been a zebra, I've been a shark, and I've also been a sheep, I believe. And of those 4 that my grandmother had made, I think I was happier with the shark. Because, fuck your pet pit bull. I got a pet fucking shark. Like Jamie said, imagine fucking walking down the street and you see somebody walking a shark. That type of shit. But the shark actually was probably my favorite one that my grandma had made. Also during the 80s, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was one of the big things. So I wanted to be Michelangelo for Halloween. Unfortunately, so did everybody else in Lansing, Michigan. So I ended up, instead of getting Michelangelo, I got a Raphael one because Raphael was the only one that we could find that actually fit me. Unfortunately, though, it was made out of a thin plastic-like material, except for the face mask. The face mask actually was a harder plastic material. But, the garbage bag pants and top that I had to wear over my original shirt made things very hot. So, in a way, I was actually very glad that at some point or another I ended up slipping, busting on my ass, and I actually tore the seam in the legs of the Halloween costume. It's basically one of those old 80s fucking disposable costumes anyway, so what the fuck ever. I was Wrath. And not to mention, now that I think about it, Raphael's characteristics really do parallel mine. Very smart-assed and quite aggressive. Always striving to be the better one of the 4. And that, I think, really does kind of fit me to a T. So I guess in a way I'm very glad that I got to be Raphael. There was one year that I didn't go trick-or-treating, but I still dressed up. I was passing out candy at my grandma's because my grandma's knees were shot, and we needed somebody to go pass out candy instead of her, and it ended up being me. And this was probably around like 7th grade. A few months actually after I first listened to Insane Clown Posse. And I didn't even think about it until now, but I thought, now that I think about it, it was pretty fucking fresh that that year I actually dressed up as a ninja. I ended up wearing a long sleeve black shirt, all black, black sweatpants. I had black shoes on, and I ended up having a black long sleeve shirt that I folded up and wore like a ninja mask. Which, yeah, they end up explaining that type of shit on the Shaggy show, where Shaggy showed you how to use a t-shirt to make a ninja mask. And I had kind of the similar idea about how to do that, but I didn't do it exactly like him because I didn't like fold it or anything like that. But nevertheless, it was still pretty fresh that I dressed up as a ninja and passed out Halloween candy. Let's see, throughout high school, though, a vast majority of years, I ended up just wearing street clothes and fucking went out and trick-or-treated that way. But there was a couple of times where I actually painted up, still wearing my street clothes, and I painted up like Violent J. It was kind of like the first few years that I was actually, listening to Insane Clown Posse rather heavily. So I saw Violent J's face paint, and I just mimicked that and did that in the mirror, and I went trick-or-treating that way. One year in high school, I actually found some pink and blue hairspray, and also the same colors, pink and blue water-based face paint, and I actually went to school for like School Spirit Week, where everybody was able to wear their Halloween costumes and shit. And I actually went as the Carnival of Carnage. I painted up like the Carnival of Carnage. Unfortunately, there's no pictures to prove that, but the memory is still here nevertheless. Of course, there had been a couple of times where I dressed it up as the freak show version of Twisted, which was fresh nevertheless. And, this is like besides shows, where I just do this on Halloween. And, over the course of a few years, like I had not gotten Halloween costumes or anything like that until about last year. I ended up going trick-or-treating with my kids, and I have, at the same time I was also working at the Haunt, and the Haunt has a thing for going trick-or-treating and whatnot. They have their last show on Halloween. But my kids and I ended up going trick-or-treating, and they ended up dressing up. Both of them were Ninja Turtles. And that was actually pretty fucking cool. My son actually got to be Michelangelo, and my daughter dressed up like Donatello, because Donatello was her favorite. Actually, no, now that I think about it, this was 2 years ago. And my rookie year at the Haunt. So I purposefully made it so I was not working at the Haunt that year, and so that way I could take my kids to go to the fucking Haunt. And that year I had found a trench coat at Goodwill and ripped it to fucking shreds. So there's like shreds of it like hanging off of my back, and I didn't have time to put blood on it or anything like that, but at the same time I was also wearing a white button-up shirt underneath, and I had a tie that I was wearing, and it was very loose. But, at the Haunt, I have a specific costume that I would wear, so I tried to come up with a style of haunted house costume very similar to the one that I was wearing, but I just couldn't find the right mask. Instead, I ended up finding one of those clear masks that you put over your face that eliminate your features, and instead it's got pink blush on the cheeks and blue eyeliner or eyeshadow, and you just wear it like that. And then of course there's the very cliche machete that I ended up having, and that was practically the end of it. That I think was probably one of my favorite costumes that I've done this year. This year I'm not painting up, I'm not wearing a mask or anything like that. Instead, I think I might just go with my kids and just do some drive-by trick-or-treating. Typical Michigan thing because of how cold it gets. Just get in the car where it's warm, and then we'll just drive until we find a house with a porch light on. But those are my costumes that I've worn over the years, and my favorite costume being the one that I made myself. I find it a little bit self-gratifying knowing that I ended up making a costume all of my own. But that's it for me. I'm out this bitch. This is Crazy McCormick signing off. Tune in tomorrow. You'll see Mr. Mackenhose. I'm out this bitch. Deuces.